I said to myself, this is one of the strengths of our Catholic Church. Father Patrick will probably tell you that when he goes to his hometown on a Sunday or when he's on vacation, and he goes to the parish church, the place packed up, full to overflowing. And that is how it is in Africa these days. And sometimes people behave as if that is how it must be and that is how it always has been, but that's not true. And when I became bishop in Granada was just coming out of, has just come out of, a period in which there was a lot of flourishing. The cathedral was packed and the small parish churches were packed and so on. But that was the past. That is in the past. Instead, you have parishes. There's a little place that came to mind very much when I came in, a place called Fontenoy, which is part of the cathedral parish. And when I go there on a Sunday, it's myself, about a dozen people, and one particular woman who is the life of the parish, of the community. But the spirit is rich. The prayer is rich. The people are alive in Christ. And you say to yourself, this is what it's all about. After just 2 years in Grenada, some of the priests, having the same experience as Father Patrick, were telling me, Bishop, we must close down some of these churches. When I have to leave the main church to go out into the countryside to say Mass for 6 people, I don't like that. But I've insisted the small communities must remain, because the small communities are the lifeblood of the church. And that is something that you must keep in mind. You must keep that in mind. The small community, the lifeblood of the church. How are you that lifeblood? What is happening among you that says to people, this is where Christ is? Everybody here know everybody here? Right. If you were in the cathedral in Kingston, and you go into the church on a Sunday morning, how many people you know? Very few if any. Very few if any. And yet they sing the hymns and so on, and that's good. That's good. But it is here. But you know who you're missing on a Sunday. But you know who have a headache, who had a bad week. And it is here that later on, we will pray a prayer of the faithful, where you will have to remember your needs and the needs of some of the people who can't come this morning because they're home, they're letters in them, they're letters in them, or maybe they are permanently disabled and they can't be here. But if the lifeblood flows through, then you have to reach out to them. And this is first of a promise I want you to make. You see, after this morning's Mass, think about it, pray about it. And promise is that if you are able, that you will either phone or call or visit somebody who is not here this morning. Or ask Father Patrick if he's going to visit anybody during the week to let you know and you will come with you. Hard? No. One of the things that should not be happening in our smaller communities, the priest should not be going to visit the sick by himself. Because when priests go to visit the sick by themselves, the sick get the impression that the priest is the church. And that is always wrong. the minister of the church. The priest is the servant of the church. But the priest is not the church. And the only way you can help to change that is if you go and visit them. And the priest might take communion to them once a month. If you can go there and a little bit more often. You can telephone them. So in our small communities, that lifeblood is there. Today's gospel is very interesting because it uses the word glorify. Jesus talks about glorifying the Father. And the Father glorifies me. And he in turn glorifies us. But that word glory, interesting word. In the Gospel of John, Jesus' glory is on the cross. On the cross. And he brings together the word glory and the word love. And that is perhaps the main message I want to leave with you today. Because it's a hard message to get across. Today is a particularly beautiful day because today, as I was thinking of Mass this morning, it's a day on which we in small places like Jamaica or small Caribbean, we on television or through the radio, we can see the new leader of our church being installed as Bishop of Rome. Because we recognize that whoever is the Bishop of Rome is the leader of the church. So today, wherever you are as a Catholic, you can claim one very simple and very important thing. I am a Catholic because I am in communion with
Christ,
God, and with everybody else who shares my Catholic faith. You can hold your head high because your church is not a church of somebody passing by, in Granada, in Greenwich Town, passing by and see the place and they see some people in the church. It looks like a nice place to put a church. So let us build a church here. And go on and visit all the people and get them to come. And then they come and you say, well, I am Pastor Robert. And I want to start a church here. And if you're good enough, the church will grow. And people will have a lot of money from the church. You know? But you belong to a church that is different. You belong to a church that faces itself right back to Peter and the apostles. We say it's the one true church because it's the one church that can face itself right back. But it is not dependent on any one human being. It is not dependent on anybody else. What Jesus does. Okay? And you have to feel a certain pride about that. I am proud of it. Even if I had never become a bishop, I would still be able to say, I belong to the one true Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. And it does not depend on how the preacher dress. It does not depend on whether it has somebody that is in the street to sing nice things in church. It depends on one thing and one thing alone. The Lord, who is its founder, and Peter, who is the rock. And so today, we can feel one with the church throughout the world. Today, when we think of today, and we think of Peter being installed as Bishop of Rome, we know that in a very real sense, Father Patrick is not a stranger. He's not a foreigner. And that's a very difficult thing sometimes for us to grasp. He is a member of the body of Christ with all of us. And we are called to witness to that. But what is the witness about? The witness is about Jesus Christ crucified. Because it is in the crucifixion that we come to know what love really means. And here I want to invite you to think of all your children and your grandchildren who to some extent never caught the faith. They never caught it. So that they are easily swayed by those who think that your faith depends on how loud you shout, on how high you jump, and how you clap your hands. No. Love one another. Love one another as I have loved you. That is the glory. And you know something? People talking about love, talk about love. Go on. You all ever know a fellow called John Legend? You know who John Legend is? There's a beautiful song that I heard for the first time. And when I heard it for the first time, I said I must learn this song myself. But it's the circumstances of that first time. Because this man had married the most beautiful girl in the village. Beautiful. A lot of other men desired her. But he was fortunate enough to have her say yes to him. He said yes. And then 3 years later, before they had any children, she developed cancer. And she died. And the Church of St. Martin de Porres in a place called Gonzales, we had a big funeral. And that man asked me whether he could sing a song. He came after communion to me and he said, I want to sing this song for her. And he took John Legend's song. I could never put in music and lyrics together. But there was one line that blew me out of the water. He said, all your curves and all your edges, all your basic imperfection. All your curves and all your edges, all your basic imperfection. Powerful thought. Because as I sat there, and he was there with his hand on the casket, crying, even as he sat, I said, that's it. True love. Curves and edges. You see what they like. Oh, wonderful. Basic imperfection. A lot of things are happening that you don't like. She gets you mad sometimes. And a basic. He gets you mad sometimes. And a basic too. But love in the midst of all of that. And that confirmed for me something that I've known for a long time now. If you truly love, the one thing love will always do. Love will always make you suffer. And that's the glory of it all. Never forget that. If you truly love, you will always suffer. And that is the glory of it all. It's amazing. Amazing. And I don't know if any of you here have known that experience where you catch your tail with somebody. You wonder to yourself, what does it mean? And then the day comes when that person dies. And you say to yourself, I had a friend. We had been to secondary school together. I had been to the seminary. We went to university. We got to know each other pretty well. But by the time I was ordained a priest, we had started a little further on. We were doing fairly well. But he was a bit of a step. Very arrogant with people. And if I tried to tell him anything about it, he would get that. Like, you doing your priesthood, right? I have to do my thing. And eventually, he began to have heart problems and kidney problems. And one day, he told me, he said, well, things were in bad way. I went to see him, and I was very distressed because I said, Doctor, Amen. He's still so bitter about so many things. And I can't help it. And you know what the Lord said to me in prayer? There are some things that you will not be able to change. Leave that to me and to each other. Don't despair. Don't believe that, oh gosh, my friend might be going to hell or anything like that. Trust me, because that is part of my love for you and for you. Trust me for the next life as well. And that's what I want to leave with you this morning, because my sense is that there are a lot of people in the world. Perhaps it doesn't apply to you personally, but it's a message you can bring to others. When you are living and experiencing some people as unchangeable, immovable, they are the same that they are, and they will never change. You can't do anything about it. But you have to trust God. And that is what makes our religion, our Catholic practice of faith, so beautiful and so different. That you talk to anybody in any one of those four churches in there, and they will tell you that when you're dead, I have no help. We say no. We say our God is all mercy, and that mercy extends even beyond the grave. And that we must dare to love people so that in their glory, which sometimes is their crucifixion, we will be able to see the hand of God and trust God's mercy towards them. So take a moment right now and think of somebody whom you know, somebody whom you wonder about the way they live in their life, somebody who perhaps they're living their life towards you in a way that makes you feel, oh God, please. Think of them. Think of the pain you may be going through because of them. Think of the hurt they may be going through because of you. But you must never presume that it will be you again. And then, right here, in this church,